I'm holding you to it.
I'll rock it. No problem.
All right, let's see. I think we should be live.
Hello.
There you are. Hey, everybody.
Howdy.
We got JLR in the house.
JLR in the house. How's everyone doing?
Okay. Did you guys get notifications? I think YouTube has a conspiracy against me, JLR.
Yeah, they're trying to demonetize you, aren't they?
They already did.
Well, it's everybody talks about target harassment online, but people can target harass you to demonetize you too. You can just, tell you if you have a huge following, you can pretty much influence your huge following to go mass report somebody. I mean, that's target harassment itself, just to report them. And then when they get about 100 to 200 reports, the algorithms are just going to ban you.
Yep. And that's what people do. I just got a donation go across the screen and I missed it. So I don't know who that was from, but thank you.
All right. So we got another school shooting.
Yes, we do. So let's get down to business. I know JLR doesn't like small talk.
No, but it's unfortunate we have another school shooting in this country. Thank God that there wasn't. It could have been a lot worse, based off preliminary reports. Coincidentally, it happened at Teacher Appreciation Week. But the kind of scary thing about the whole situation is, once again, we got suburban Denver, Colorado, as another target.
Yeah, which it's just about 7 miles from Columbine, which is, really hits home to the people there.
Yes,
scary.
And 2 weeks prior or 3 weeks prior, with the individual, the 18-year-old from Florida, the young lady, Sol Pius, that actually, flew on a plane and she flew to Colorado. She went to Littleton, Colorado, home of Columbine, and got some weapons, got a gun, and allegedly was going to do some sort of mass shooting somewhere in that area, but I guess she got thwarted and ran to Mount Evans, and then she shot herself in the mountains naked. A little disturbed individual, but she was obsessed with the Columbine shooters. She was definitely obsessed with. She was part of that Columbine clique. There's a subculture out there on Tumblr and different Facebook groups with these people obsessed with the Columbine shooters, especially young people.
So she was able to fly from Florida. She was from your neck of the woods in Florida, and she was able to fly to Colorado and buy a gun when she got there.
Yes, and she bought it in Littleton, Colorado, home of Columbine. So in this particular instance, so that just happened 3 weeks ago. So even at that time, the whole community in Jefferson County, Colorado, and Douglas County, this is where this shooting just happened, they were all on alert and standby at the time. Most schools were security was vigilant. Everyone was vigilant. They were kind of worried because the 20th anniversary of Columbine was happening at that time. And so, when she got caught, or when she died, unfortunately, she died, but it was like a sign of relief. And then Columbine, the anniversary of Columbine passed. Now we have another one. Now we have another one from, looks like two disturbed individuals. And it's kind of scary because, I've been looking, digging in on these individuals because, after the shooter has been identified, Devin, his name is Devin, after Devin Erickson, after he was identified, he had some social media accounts. So everybody's just trying to gather up as much information as possible through his social media accounts and stuff like that. And he seemed disturbed. I mean, he seemed like he had a similar look to Klebold, one of the Columbine kids. He was into grunge. He kept using hashtags about grunge, and that's the type of lifestyle that the Columbine kids kind of had. So it kind of makes me wonder, were they like copycats? Were they obsessed with Columbine people? I don't know if that particular area is just a breeding ground. I don't know, history keeps repeating itself in that area. It's just these mass shootings seem like, because they had another one too. They had another mass shooting back in 2013 at Arapahoe High School. There was a shooting there too. There wasn't mass casualties. There was another shooting there
I
too. So
didn't know that.
yeah, it was in 2013. Actually, believe it or not, it was on December 13th, 2013, James Holmes' birthday, coincidentally. But that's another
Yeah,
story.
that's another one in Colorado.
That's another one. I mean, Colorado has had its history of these mass shootings, or a high profile case. We just had in Weld County, Colorado, north of Denver, with the Chris Watts case. James Holmes in Arapahoe County and Aurora, they had a mass shooting. Had the Columbine in Jefferson County, mass shooting. Now you have Douglas County. You got all these suburban counties around Colorado, and you're getting these shootings that are happening. Now, I don't know if these kids are in, it just seems like these kids could possibly be like, they talk about it amongst the circles, about what the Columbine kids do, but there is a culture out there, and there's disturbed young children, young youth that are obsessed with these Columbine kids, and it seems like it just keeps repeating itself, and
it's crazy.
It could be a similar act. It could be.
I want to ask you something real quick. So what is your take on your stance on guns, and what do you think about this girl just being able to fly from Florida to Colorado and buying a gun?
Well, I mean, I believe in the Second Amendment, but I also believe in gun control, especially with people that have documented history of mental illness. I think it's mental illness is the issue. It's not necessarily the guns itself, because there's millions of people that use guns responsibly. I just the way certain individuals can access those weapons and get those weapons. Maybe maybe some sort of background check, can cross reference with people with mental illness, some sort of database that people have been committed or seen, psychologists or whatnot. Maybe draw up red flags before anyone's being able to purchase a weapon. In this particular instance, there were handguns. There was I believe a rifle or a shotgun that was also there, but it wasn't used in this particular case. But there was 2 handguns. I mean, handguns in Colorado, I believe that somebody under 21 can't get them, but they were one of the shooter's parents' guns, allegedly.
That's what I heard. And, that's one thing that I want to say is that, obviously those parents weren't responsible if, that kid was able to get his hands on them. That's
well, that's not necessarily true, because back in Pennsylvania a couple years ago, there was the Cosmo DiNardo case. I don't know if you're familiar with that. The young man Cosmo DiNardo killed four people he went to school with on a farm, and butchered them and slaughtered them and buried them. And
oh, I remember that. Yeah, those 4 boys he lured out there.
4 boys. So Cosmo DiNardo lived with his parents. His parents were affluent. They had a lot of money. He was an affluent kid. His parents had a lot of money. Well, he got the guns from his parents' house. His parents are now being sued by the victim's family members because he had access to the guns. They're saying that basically is because he had a documented history of mental illness, his parents should have secured the guns more than they should have. And
I agree.
He was able to get the guns out of, his parents' safe, and then he took them and, did his crime with the guns. So in this particular case, did Devin Erickson have a history of mental illness? It's still early. Everything is still fluid in this situation right now. There's very limited details on what's going on and what actually happened, but there is pieces that I'm slowly putting together, and you can kind of figure it out by hearing different media outlet, reporting and whatnot of what went on here. Supposedly, you had STEM school. It's a charter school in Douglas County. It's a charter school that hosts kindergarten through 12th grade, which I find kind of odd because me being in Pennsylvania, I always thought you had like elementary school, middle school, and a high school. Like you had kindergarten through 4th grade or 3rd grade, and then an elementary school 3rd grade through 8th grade, and then 9th grade through 12th grade. Like elementary, middle school, and high school. Well, this particular school, STEM school, hosts people all the way from kindergarten all the way to high school. They're all in this big school together.
Mm-hmm. I think it started out as the upper grades, and then they added the lower grades.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. They do that for cost cutting measures, or just to consolidate, to make it easier for everyone to travel to one particular area. Who knows? But supposedly the high school part. See, again, there's like different sections to this school. With the kindergartens and the elementary schools, the middle school section, and the high school section. Well, supposedly the high school section of this school actually have metal detectors that these students have to go through, but the middle school side and the elementary school side do not have metal detectors. So what I'm reading, and what I've been reading through different mainstream media, I think the New York Times reported and Washington Post said that the two shooters entered the school through the middle school part of the school, which didn't have a metal detector. That's how they were able to get into the school with the guns. From that point, once you're inside the school, you can go anywhere in the school. You can go all the way to the kindergarten side. You can go all the way to the you can go all the way to the 12th grade side.
So it's pretty much open.
It's pretty much open once you get in. But I guess they found a way to circumvent by just going through the middle. So that kind of draws little red flags, lack of security, with that. In a sense, why wasn't there metal detectors on the middle school side? Why wasn't there metal detectors on the elementary school side? Now that this happened, are they going to put metal detectors there on these sides? Prevent this thing from happening. Yeah. I'm assuming so. So then this school also has private security. They don't have like a resource officer, like somebody that, from the sheriff's department or local police department that come and patrol. They actually have their own private security. So these two young people went into school, and the other one was a transgender. I'll say the name because, it's pretty much out there. His name is Alex McKinney. He goes by Mya Elizabeth McKinney. It's kind of strange that his charging documents, if you look on his court case is listed as Mya Elizabeth McKinney, but he wants to be called Alex, which is kind of strange to me because why would you, if he's transgender and he was born a male, why does he want to be referred as a male in a sense when he has that female name? So I find that kind of odd too. And I don't really.
Well, she is changing to a female or a male. I mean, so she's going from female to male.
Okay, so it's a female to male.
Yes.
Okay. So is this particular instance, you can't classify this as a mass shooting because, the FBI always says a mass shooting it has 4 more casualties or 4 more people that died in a mass shooting, correct? Is that 4 more deaths or just people wounded?
Or injured? I'm not sure about that.
But I don't, when you look at this case, you don't see the words, like you look on Twitter and you think you don't see mass shooting, you just see a shooting. So in technical terms, this wasn't a mass shooting, though it definitely had the potential to be one. Has there ever been a female mass shooter?
I don't think there has.
And has there ever been a female mass shooter with a school? A school shooter that was actually a female. I don't know if my thing dimmed out. Did I dim out? Can you see me okay?
No, I can see you.
Okay. Yeah, so this makes it very interesting, and even in the fact that the juvenile is transgender. This is like the first time a transgender mass shooting or a transgender type shooting. I haven't heard of any like in this country.
Mm-hmm.
In that's even on a young juvenile, young person aspect. So it makes it interesting. But. Yeah, 2 individuals. Supposedly, I guess they were friends. I've seen pictures of them together on Instagram. The younger one, the transgender one, actually had an Instagram, and there was photos with the transgender and Erickson together. It looked like some sort of prom, or they had some sort of suits and on. They looked like they had dates.
Yeah, it looked like prom pictures.
Look like prom pictures. I don't, it makes me wonder at first, and I haven't really heard any reports like was the transgender and Erickson in some sort of relationship together? Were they boyfriend and girlfriend? Were they kind of, or were they just,
Yeah, I wondered that too, but it seems like probably not. Because,
Mhm.
well, I guess they could have went to prom as friends with the girls they
they
were in the pictures with.
they
So
could have, and
yeah,
also like Erickson, he had his Facebook up. That even the day that he got identified, his profile was up yesterday, pretty much all day. But then, soon as court came around in that afternoon, when he got arraigned in the afternoon, his Facebook just vanished, and that's usually what happens nowadays. With these type of high profile people that do these like shootings, that have social media accounts, usually they just vanish at that point. And that's probably because Facebook probably, or police probably got a hold of Facebook and said, take it down or whatnot. And his Facebook was gone around the afternoon. But when he did have Facebook, and when he did have his, the other one had his Instagram, it seemed like Erickson, Devin Erickson, the adult shooter, the 18-year-old, it seems like he had maybe a girlfriend too in some of his pictures. It seemed like he was with a blonde girl,
yeah,
hugging her and holding her. Like it looked like it was intimate. Now, I don't know if that was his girlfriend. Um, so that makes it.
So their ages were 18 and 17, right?
They never really said the juvenile's age that I've seen. I didn't hear 17. It could
I
be
guess I didn't
16.
either. I didn't know for
I
sure.
just hear, I just hear a juvenile, and the fact that this individual is a juvenile, there's going to be a lot of limited information on the juvenile's case because the juvenile is in court separately. The juvenile at this point has to go through the juvenile courts, and the juvenile court's got to determine whether he's going to be tried, or she or he. I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone, but the juvenile courts is going to have to decide if the individual is going to be certified and tried as an adult. And then they would get their case, he or she would get her case transferred to the adult court where Erickson is currently at right now. So they're in all. So the fact that the proceedings are a little bit more secretive, and there's limited information coming out of that, because of the fact that he's a juvenile.
People are
Right.
saying 16 for the juvenile, but I don't know if that's confirmed or not.
Okay, so 16 years old. Obviously they were friends. It seems that, so there's a lot of unanswered questions here. It's like, okay, so I noticed the police seized 18-year-old Devin's car from his parents' home. They actually, after the shooting, they went to the parents' home, Erickson's parents' home, and that's where his car was. And it was spray painted with like a lot of graffiti on the car saying F Society. And I think the number 666 was, on the
Mm-hmm.
car. So I kept wondering to myself, how did Erickson get to school that day if his car was parked at home? Did he take a bus, ride his bike? I did a search from the parents' home based off, where his parents live, because, he was a registered Democrat, and his whole family, were registered to vote. So they had their address. Their address is listed.
Mm-hmm.
Their address, they live about 2.5 miles from the school. So that seems like a little bit too far to walk to school, but who knows? Maybe he walked, maybe he carpooled, maybe the other one, the juvenile, picked him up and they went to school in the juvenile's car.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking, because there's been media reports saying that one of the suspects' cars was in the school parking lot, and the police were obtaining a warrant to look in it.
Yeah, they were
And
searching that car.
So if Erickson's car was at home, which you could clearly see, in pictures of the house, that his car was parked in the garage, because the garage doors were open and the police taped around the house, typical, and they eventually seized that vehicle by, putting it on a tow truck. Makes me believe that they both got into the juvenile's car and then they drove to school in the juvenile's car to do this act.
Yeah, and the question that I'm wondering too is like, when was that spray painting done? Was it that morning, like before he left for school?
Well, police just came out. There was another media report that just came out today saying that there's evidence that they tried to set fire. Both of them tried to set fire to his parents' home before they did the shooting.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
It's out there. There is media reports that say that. There's evidence they found, evidence of a fire, but the fire did not spread to the home. But they tried to set they tried to set Erickson's parents' home on fire. So what does that tell us?
Did they say if anybody was home?
I don't think anyone was home at the time, because then it makes me wonder if this case was similar to like a Kip Kingle. Have you ever heard of the Kip Kingle case?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Kip Kingle is a young man. I believe he was from Mississippi. He killed his parents and then went on a school shooting after he killed his parents. This was back in the 90s, I believe, but he was from Mississippi. So he killed his parents in the parents' home and then drove to the school and did a mass shooting at the school. I think he killed a few people. I don't know the actual numbers, whatever like that. So it makes me wonder, did these two have the intent to kill, Erickson's parents? Because the parents, the way I'm reading it, the parents were not at his court hearing. Erickson's court hearing when he got arraigned. The parents were not there.
Wow.
Now that's typical when people that get originally arraigned in any court case. Usually it's just the defendant, because the parents are in shock. They don't know what's going on. They have limited information themselves. It's so surreal to them. So they probably didn't know anything about this court hearing. But was there a problem with the relationship between Erickson, Devin Erickson, and his parents that made him want to burn his parents' home down and spray paint his own car? So did they spray paint the car maybe like after his parents went to work? Like, did the parents go to work that morning and then they just, I don't know.
So the parents, do we know, are they married then? He lived with both parents?
The parents are married because they both live together. They're both registered Democrats. They live in the same household. Okay. Their house is nice. The house is valued
I actually went on Google and saw the house. It's valued at like $600,000.
Yeah. Yes, it's a very expensive home. It's in a nice neighborhood. So I'm assuming that the parents were married. So that leaves me wondering what type of relationship did this guy? Now he had a sister too. He has an older sister.
Mm-hmm.
Erickson has an older sister. She's in her early 20s. Makes me wonder, like, what type of relationship he had with his parents. Like, was his parents? Now, it's obvious that Erickson seems like he was maybe like bisexual, maybe, or.
I'm going to be honest, JLR. So the day that this happened, I was live for like 5 hours. And I was like going to all his social media, and I ended up on his YouTube. And when I turned on his YouTube, like, I didn't know what this kid was even going to look like, really.
Yeah.
And when I got on his YouTube and I played one of his videos from just 8 months ago, it was really hard for me to like comprehend that this kid just did this. Like I instantly like felt pity for him. Like I can picture him being teased, because he's like one of those creative kids. He played the guitar, he sang, and you could tell in his performances he looked down. He wasn't real confident, it didn't look like. And I felt bad for the kid. And people in my life were like, what? You're fucking crazy. How can you feel sorry for him? I just had this feeling that he was like a bullied kid. But then now I've seen all these pictures. He had tons of friends.
Well, it just seems like he was kind of like an advocate for marginalized people. It seems like, because he had friends, and he did have a lot of friends. But I mean, he had a couple hundred friends on Facebook, and I scoured through his friends list, and it seems like, people that went to school with him, his friends, they just seem like they were like for the trans community, the trans community. So it seems like he was more like in support of, trans causes and everything like that.
When I saw, I'm not trying to be judgy or anything. I mean, everybody here knows that, one of my best friends is a gay man, so I'm by no means like judging. But when I saw him, I thought he was gay and he was teased for that reason. And a lot of people were like, no, kids don't get teased for that anymore. And I disagree. I think they do.
Or could it be a possibility that the juvenile was getting teased in school, going through being a transgender, and he was trying to stick up for his
Defend
friend.
him. Yeah. Yep.
That's the question. Again, there's
Will
limited
we
information.
ever find out, though? Will
We
we
can,
ever
we
find out?
will. I believe we will, based on charging documents, affidavits of probable cause. I believe that, the prosecutor is going to paint a picture and kind of give out the facts of what's going on. We'll kind of put the pieces together. At this time, all we can do is really speculate, and go from there. But why did he spray paint his car like F the world? Why would somebody do that to their own vehicle? Was that like a suicide pact that they were trying to make?
Who
Before
knows?
they went,
Did he even pay for
before
his
they
own
went on their
vehicle?
blaze.
You know what I mean? Like, did he even care that? Did he pay for his car, or was it something his parents paid for and he was like, fuck it,
That could be too. So maybe this was kind of like a rebellious towards his parents or something, maybe not accepting who he was, or maybe like his parents were trying to guide him a certain way and he wanted to be a different way, maybe like a peer pressure. Because, I brought this up in a group yesterday. He was 18 years old and he was already registered to vote as an 18-year-old. Okay.
Wow.
Most people 18 years old are not registered to vote. And he was talking about politics, on his Facebook for the last few years. He had political posts. So it makes me wonder, like, was his parents maybe pushing politics on him? Maybe, people why was he involved with politics at a very young age? It kind of goes like when I was going to a lot of these protests, like with both sides, I was going to like anti-Trump protests and Trump rallies and stuff like that. And you would see, like, especially the protest against, the administration that we got now. I've seen a lot of, like, parents bringing their like 9-year-old kids, 10-year-old kids to these protests, and kind of, so is it some sort of like indoctrination? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, his parents could have been like, really staunch Democrats, and you never know.
It looks like, and coincidentally, his parents, they used to live in Littleton, Colorado before they moved to where they're at now.
Really?
They used to live in Littleton, Colorado. So, maybe Littleton, Colorado, and that whole area is just cursed, literally, because
it's really bizarre. Yeah.
I
have a friend that lives in Littleton, and her little granddaughters go to school right down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And they were scared to death.
Well, you got to think in this particular instance, it's not like it was like Columbine where it's just a high school. This was a charter school. This is a charter school with kindergarten, first, second grades. This had to be traumatizing for these kids because they're hearing sirens. They probably heard some shots. Everybody's telling them probably at the time, get on the floor. They don't know drill. They don't know what's going on. It's probably very traumatizing to these kids. So it's going to have everlasting effects, especially on these young people that were in that school at the time. These people are going to remember this, even though only one got killed, and one is too many, but it could have been a lot worse. But then at the same time, it makes me wonder, what was their intent to do this day? I mean, I haven't heard anything, like I haven't seen any manifestos, any type of statements that they made saying they're going to go do this. Like, what was their intent to go do this day? Like, was their intent to do a mass shooting? I kind of wonder, and I'm kind of skeptical about here, and I need to get more information, but it makes me wonder, did they just go to the school just to maybe like pull out their guns and scare some people, with guns, and then it just got out of hand? I don't know, because It seems like the way I'm reading it, the way I read it, like they said, like, what, 9 or 8 people got shot and 1 got killed? Was that the official tally? 8 shots?
I think it was 8. Yeah, 1 died.
But did you know 4 of the people that got shot were during the time when they rushed the shooter? And that's when that one young man, Castillo, got killed.
Yeah.
Castillo. 4 people at that time are the ones that got hit. So it makes me wonder, Did these people go into the school, do the middle school side, and supposedly they had a rifle or some sort of shotgun with them hidden in a guitar? Did they go into the middle school and then go deep into the school and then go into a classroom? And some witnesses were saying that, Erickson pulled out a gun and said, "Nobody move." Did he fire some shots, but did he just fire shots to kind of like in the air just to scare people or whatever? And then everybody panicked.
Right. How did it all pan out?
Did everybody panic? And then these kids assumed that they were going to be shot. So then they took the courage to rush the shooter to try to tackle him. And that's when Castilla got shot, and some other people got shot. I mean, what was their intent? Because I'm hearing conflicting things. I'm also hearing that both shooters went to two separate spots inside the school. Like they went in together, but they separated. And one went down a hallway and one went into a classroom. Or at one point they were together, but because when they got apprehended, the kids subdued Erickson the shooter. The kids subdued him, like 3 or 4 kids subdued him and then Castilla got shot in the process. And then the private security guard tackled and subdued the transgender young person.
So a lot of people
at a different location in the school, they were not together.
There's a few people in chat, JLR, that are saying they read that they were angry with certain people, that it was targeted.
So certain people that bullied them, or angry why? Like because they were being bullied, or because they were just...
Yeah, you guys, did they say why they were angry? Was it bullying or what was it? So was there only one gun used?
2 handguns. 2 handguns were stolen from the parents' house. But
they didn't use the handguns, correct?
Yes, they used the handguns.
Oh, they did use the handguns.
They used the handguns. Now, here's the question. At first it was wondering, they weren't saying who killed. At first they weren't saying publicly, and I haven't really seen media reports that who actually killed the young man, the one young man that got killed, Castilla. Which one of the shooters killed him? And it seems like it was Devin Erickson was the one that killed the shooter. My question is, did the juvenile
even kill anybody?
Did he even hit anybody? Did he even fire his gun? I haven't heard anything yet. Like, I haven't really gotten the facts. So
right.
That makes it interesting because in his criminal trial, it changes the dynamics of the whole situation, with his particular case. Because his lawyers, he's in juvenile court now. And how that process works is, okay, so the prosecutor is going to try to certify him as an adult and try to get him in an adult court. The transgender's lawyers are going to try to keep him in juvenile court, because obviously a juvenile sentence is much less than an adult sentence would be.
Right.
If he kept him in juvenile court, this guy could get out when he's 21. He could literally get out of a juvenile detention. So they're going to fight tooth and nail. Now, it all depends on what role the transgender played in this case. Obviously he conspired with Erickson to do something, some sort of mass casualties or whatever.
Well, so my question, let's back up for a second.
With conspiracy to commit murder.
But let's back up for a second. So in the court documents, did you say it says Alec or it says Mya?
His court documents is listed as Mya Elizabeth McKinney.
So they're recognizing him as a female.
As a female. So, and like you said, see, I was confused and you clarified that. He
was born a female.
He was born a female.
Mm-hmm. I think what it is he's going through the change, the transition. So he's not necessarily a male. I think that if he was complete, then they could probably, classify him as a male. But I think right now he's being classified as a female. So that's interesting. I didn't realize that's the name they used.
Yeah, that is the name they use. And it is interesting because if that's the case, then it's more than likely where she's at in a detention center, or the juvenile detention center, because
She's
she's
with
not.
girls.
She's with girls. She's
Hmm.
with girls in the detention center. Even though she wants to transition to a boy, she's with girls. So, what role did she play? Did she fire a shot? I don't even know if she's charged with the same charges as what Erickson's charged, because obviously you see Erickson, he's charged with a rack of charges, a count of first degree murder, and then like 29 counts of attempted murder. Um, he's getting a life sentence. So there's no if or ands or buts. He's getting a life sentence. Okay, he's not going to get the death penalty. So if everybody thinks like this, there's a chance that this guy could get the death penalty. They're not going to give this guy the death penalty. He's pretty much his lawyers are pretty much conceded that he did it. You can tell. There's you can't dispute it. And one person was killed, that's fine, but you can't if you're not going to give somebody like James Holmes or Chris Watts the death penalty, you can't give this kid the death penalty, because he didn't do nothing worse than those guys, those creeps did.
Yeah.
So he's going to end up getting a life sentence. So now it's interesting what's going to happen to this juvenile. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Supreme
let's
Court.
talk about the options. That's interesting.
Even if the juvenile is going to be certified as an adult. I'm pretty much, unless the juvenile did not fire a shot or did not shoot anybody or did not kill anybody, there could be a chance, based off the juvenile being a female, to somehow keep it in juvenile court. Doubtful, but it's possible. It depends on what role that person played, as far as if they hit anybody or whatever. I don't even know what the juvenile is charged with. I don't think the juvenile is charged with the same charges as Erickson is. I haven't seen where the juvenile is charged with 29 counts of.
They haven't said.
They haven't said. It's secret. Okay. Let's say, for instance, the juvenile does get charged as an adult. First things first, no matter if the juvenile killed anybody, the juvenile is not getting a life sentence, because the Supreme Court in 2012 already ruled that juvenile offenders that are tried as an adult cannot receive a life sentence. So that's already been ruled on. So basically, because in this country right now, there's like 2,100. There was 2,100 juvenile offenders that committed, crimes as a juvenile, were certified as an adult, that got life sentences. But in 2012, the Supreme Court ruled that unconstitutional, and all these juveniles got sentenced to life are going back to court getting resentenced for their crimes. The average sentence that these juveniles are getting when they're getting resentenced after having a life sentence is about 30 years. That is the average sentence they're getting when being resentenced. Wow. So with that being said, so
he's definitely not going away for life.
He's not going away for life. And if you think about it, he's only 16, 17 years old. There's a very good chance that this juvenile could get out by the time 50 years old, at the worst case scenario. The juvenile is getting out one day.
So what happens when, so they've started this transition, right, from a female to a male. What happens with that process when they go to prison?
Okay. All right, here's the deal with that, right? All right, so Colorado, I was doing a little research today on Colorado. Colorado has 115 transgender adults in the Colorado Department of Corrections. Colorado is, with most states, they recognize you as your biological sex, not what you identify as gender. So even if he says, okay, for instance, even if a guy says that they're a woman, gender identity, and they say they're a woman, Colorado will still put them in a man's prison. They will not put them in a woman's prison. And believe it or not, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, a few years ago, they were actually putting Barack Obama in 2014. He actually signed a law basically saying that the Bureau of Prisons can put male inmates with female inmates if they identify themselves as, a female. But that was creating a lot of problems, because a lot of male offenders were being put in the federal prisons with females, and the females were feeling threatened because they had to take a shower around these guys. guys were exposing themselves in front of the girls, and they just felt intimidated. So they filed
So
a lawsuit.
so what you're saying is that he'll get placed with his gender that like
He's going to get placed with his biological sex. So
wow.
if she was born a woman, he's going to a woman's prison. She will not go to a male's prison. Colorado and there's only like less than 10 states that will actually house you according to the gender you identify. And it's not necessarily just the gender you identify. You got to be taking hormonal treatments. You got to go, like, not necessarily have the surgeries itself, but you have to actually look like the sex that you're identifying yourself, not just claiming it, because otherwise anyone could claim it.
Right. So, they take a lot of hormones and stuff like that when they're transitioning. I don't really know a whole lot about the process, but will they continue letting him take those hormones and everything? Because I think that would mess with him.
Well, they have no choice, because if here's the deal: transgender people in prisons, if they want hormonal treatment, the prisons have to accommodate them on that. And it's expensive. It's very expensive. Do you know it costs? Like they say in state prison, it costs an average inmate $30,000 a year to house an inmate. House, feed, and clothe or whatnot. But to a transgender inmate, it's triple the cost, because they're taking hormonal treatments, they're getting therapy and stuff like that. It's very, very, very expensive. And case in point, when you had Bradley Manning, Chelsea Manning, remember Chelsea Manning, the one that sold the secret to WikiLeaks, got a buku amount of time in federal prison. Well, Bradley went to Chelsea Manning and was identifying himself as a woman. People always say, why did Barack Obama pardon Chelsea Manning before, Barack Obama left office? One of the reasons was because Chelsea Manning was a burden on that system in the federal bureau of prisons, because they had to accommodate her daily with treatments and everything like that. That is very, very, very expensive. It's complicated, because you have to also protect these inmates under PREA. The PREA, the Prison Rape Elimination Act. You got to protect these inmates, and you can't just house a transgender in solitary confinement solely on the grounds because they're transgender. You have to give them a chance to be in general population. So there's rapes and different things like that. So it becomes a headache and stuff like that. So with this particular female, that's a juvenile, it's going to be a problem. This is very complex, this case, not just necessarily with what they did as a crime here, but this individual, this transgender in this particular case, moving forward is going to be a headache for the Department of Corrections in Colorado on numerous grounds. It's just going to be a burden on them financially, where to house the individual. It's a pain in the butt. And they don't like dealing with it, but it's reality, and here it is. But that's usually, they'll put her, if she's a female, but even though she claims she wants to be a male and wants to be Alex, she's going to a female prison.
Wow.
That's where she's going to end up going.
So even if she's tried as a juvenile and she goes to juvie,
that's a different story.
What will happen then?
That's a different story, because that's not the Colorado Department of Corrections. That's a whole different entity. So that will be interesting too. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, because it's at the discretion of each state. It's at the discretion of I know the Federal Bureau of Prisons will not, again, at one point they were doing that. They were putting males with females and females with males at one point from 2014. But you had a bunch of Christian women at a federal prison in Texas that filed a lawsuit in federal court saying that, they don't feel comfortable with these men around them, that, even though the men identify as women, they just do not feel safe and feel comfortable, and they have to take showers, and these men are exposing themselves. So the Trump administration reversed that policy and then went back to, it has to be on your biological, who you are as a person biologically.
That's in federal prison?
That's in federal prison, but usually there's like 40 states have that. It's the biological aspect.
Okay.
Not what you in Colorado. And I'm surprised by Colorado, because Colorado is kind of like liberal.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely liberal. So I was shocked to see that, because as soon as I heard this was transgender, I'm wondering, about this individual, what type of rights this individual has, because you know that this transgender, not only that, but I believe like the ACLU and LGBT community, despite the fact what this transgender did, I believe that they're going to rally behind this individual as far as how this individual gets humanely treated while she is incarcerated. Moving forward, I believe they're going to use her as kind of like the experimental project, and they're going to use her as like the guinea pig,
the example,
example to champion the rights of the LGBT. How you got to treat this person fairly while this person's incarcerated. You got to give this person the treatments they want, to require to be who they want to be. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, and it's a huge debate, that topic.
It's a huge debate, but then then you got these two young individuals. Like, I've already seen on forums already, like, okay, so right after both of them had Twitter accounts. Both of them had Twitter accounts, but I don't know if they're up anymore. I haven't checked as of today. But after it happened, all the avatars, like the Columbine avatar people on Twitter, like the Eric Harris and the Dylan Klebold avatars, the fake accounts with their pictures and profiles, they all started following them. They all started following the two shooters, on Twitter and stuff like that. There's going to be fangirls and groupies that are going to follow these two individuals through the whole process, because you got the young, slender young man, Devin, with the purple hair and the slender looks, and you're going to find these disturbed females that are going to think he's hot and think he's
always. Yeah,
they're going to get, and they're going to get their fan mail, and they're going to get people. I go on Tumblr right now. People have already making memes out of these two killers here, and kind of like like putting hearts around the memes and trying to it's kind of creepy and scary. That only breeds more people down the line to do these type of things, because they think it's like cool to do, or rebel to do, or the grunge thing to do,
and get the attention.
And get the attention. So that's where we're at, and it's kind of scary. So we'll see what happens. It's interesting that Colorado did the same thing. Like, they did the same thing with James Holmes, and they did the same thing with Chris Watts. Remember the multiple counts that he was charged with, even though he only did a certain amount of murders, but he was charged with double the murders, with the accounts, when they get charged and stuff like that. Well, I mean, Erickson's charged with like 29 counts of, attempted murder, 29 counts, but only 9 people got hit. You understand? They stack these counts up.
Wow. I
don't know how they do that and are able to do that, but they stack accounts. So he's going to end up getting a life sentence for sure. He's going to plead out. There's nothing. He's guilty. There's nothing he can do about it. Now, will the prosecution use the transgender against him, to testify against him or whatever, if he decides to go to trial? But I don't even see him going to trial. I see him pleading out and getting his life sentence.
Yeah, like, did one influence the other? That's what I've wondered.
The one influenced the other. But I know this. It's not like, because it was kind of weird, because remember when James Holmes, the Aurora shooter, he got arraigned, and he was like with his red hair or orange hair, and he was kind of looking.
How could I forget?
He was looking spaced out when he went to his arraignment. That was that look. He was like kind of like twiddling it. He just looked like he was zoned out, staring like in La La Land. You could see there that dude was not right. Like, something was not right here. But with Erickson, when Erickson got arraigned, you seen that he knew what he did wrong, because as they were reading the charges on him, he kept
crying.
Down. He cried. He kept looking down. Like, he kept his face kept going as far down in the chair as possible. It went to the point where the sheriffs behind him, the one woman sheriff, had to look at him to make sure he wasn't going to do anything. Like, she was looking kind of like over him, making sure he's all right. Like if he was going to do something, maybe like poison or do something.
I saw that.
So he was fully aware.
He knew right from wrong. Yeah.
That's what I was about to say. He's not going to be able to play some sort of mentally insane or anything like that. He clearly knew what he was. Even when they said the court, his arraignment was over, he immediately stood up and walked out of court on his own. He knew his surroundings. He's fully aware of what's going on.
But on the other hand, can the juvenile claim a defense that this kid who's 18 influenced him and talked him into it?
Absolutely.
And get off the hook?
Well, he's not going to get off the hook. Believe that. He's not going to get off the hook. But again, I have to see a little bit of more information about what exactly role this juvenile played, because, there is a possibility the juvenile stays in juvenile court, maybe gets some sort of, crime and gets out at 21, because obviously juvenile offenders can't be held past 21. Or they could do like the crazy rule and do it like the Slenderman girls. Remember the Slenderman girls?
Mm-hmm.
The young people that, attempted murder with the Slenderman, they were only 12 and 13 years old. Now they went the mental route, but one of them got 40 years in a mental institution.
Holy shit, 40 years?
40 years,
wow.
One of them. 40 years. I think the older one or something got 40 years in a mental institution. So, is there a way to keep this guy, incarcerated as long as possible? Yes, there's ways, but in all reality, whether she's tried as an adult or not, I don't, based off the averages of juvenile offenders now that can't get life sentences, not going to get longer than 30 years. That means 30 years. Obviously some of that's parolable. 16 years old. That's under 50 years old.
Yeah.
This person will be out before 50 years old. That's definitely a reality, and that's definitely how I see it. My prediction there. So we'll get more information.
What a waste. What a waste.
I mean, it's not surprising that, in another year or two, we see another shooting in that area. It's weird. These weird things happen in that particular area. I think it's just like people that just feel like they had enough of the world. It's kind of like maybe they just feel like the school shooting's the thing to do or whatever.
I don't know. It's really bizarre. It's really bizarre that area just...
Now, the prosecutor in this case, Boucher, his name is, he's the same prosecutor that prosecuted James Holmes in Aurora, Colorado. So it's the same prosecutor. So this prosecutor is a seasoned prosecutor. Prosecutor has the experience to handle this type of case and knows how to handle this case. So expect a thorough prosecution on this particular case. Not anyone that would mess it up.
One other thing I noticed when he was in court yesterday was he didn't look up at the judge.
No, he looked up one time when the prosecutor walked over to talk to the female defense attorney. He looked up like kind of spooked, like he thought to me it kind of looked like he thought the prosecutor was going to do something to him. Like he kind of freaked for a second.
Like startled, yeah.
Startled, and then he kind of like again just put his head down. Whatever like that. So is he going to do that through the entire proceedings? Obviously next time we see him in court, there's a very possibility that his purple hair will be gone. Like it will be like, back to its natural roots.
Uh-huh.
That's going to grow out. Obviously he can't have purple hair while he's in prison unless he gets commissary Kool-Aid and starts mixing his hair in Kool-Aid.
Oh my God.
That's what they do, but he's not going to have that look. He's going to have a different look.
He might get his hair cut, and look more, clean cut and.
Well, that's the picture that his lawyers are going to probably pick. I don't know if the two lawyers that we've seen with him at his arraignment is going to be his lawyers throughout the whole process. Maybe his parents hire a lawyer. It'd be kind of weird for his parents to hire him a lawyer after he tried to burn their house down.
Yeah. I got to wonder, was there signs, was there things that, maybe worried his parents? They said one of the kids was in therapy. I'm assuming it's the transgender because they go through the therapy as they go through the transition, right?
Yes.
And that they were taking illegal and legal drugs.
Oh, definitely. But, going back to, Erickson, and it goes back to the guns, the guns in his parents' house. You can guarantee that the victims of this case, somebody, whether the ones that got killed or not, are probably going to seek civil action against the parents, for having Erickson being able to access those weapons. Because obviously the police have already said the guns were legal, but they were the parents' guns. They were legal, but now the question has Erickson ever been involuntarily or committed before in the past? Has he ever sought counsel for mental health treatment or whatnot? These are going to be some questions because the victim families are going to try to pursue it, especially knowing that the parents also have money. It looks like they have money. Well, a big house doesn't necessarily mean money if you have a mortgage on it, but
Well, I was looking at their I was nosy and I was looking at the Zillow and they only paid like 240,000 for it when they
mhm,
bought it. So that's quite a bit of equity in that house.
yes. So I don't know if they have a mortgage on it,
Yeah,
or
I don't know.
I don't know what the parents do for a living. I believe I believe the daughter works in some sort of banking or something like that. So I'm assuming the daughter went through college. Now, case in, let me bring this up. Isn't school ending there in a few days or something
Yeah,
like that?
the Kendrick was going to graduate in 3 days.
Okay. Why why does school end there in mid-May? Is that just something they do out there?
Isn't that how it is in Florida too though? When I lived in Florida, I feel like they got out earlier.
I don't know. In Pennsylvania growing up, I remember it was in June, like the middle of
Yeah, here in Michigan it's June too, but I remember in Florida when my kids went to school, they got out mid-May and then they went back like early August. So they were in school like the first, second week of August, whereas we went back after Labor Day. So it might be like that. Yeah, they
So
start in early August, Colorado Crime Con said.
now, could this had something to do with like the parents putting pressure on him about a certain college, maybe, or something, some sort of career after school? Because he was about to graduate. Um, maybe the parents, maybe he was trying to apply for some colleges and didn't get accepted, possibly.
Yeah, I
Or
mean, it
maybe
could be so many things when you're young like that, you don't think and you react at the things that, if you could just sit down and talk to a kid and say, "Look, in 4 years, this is not going to matter." Like high school is not going to matter when you're done. But to
Mhm.
them in the moment, it's everything. That's their world. But being 3 days away from graduation, even if I was someone who was bullied, I'd be like, God, I only have 3 days left in this hellhole, and then I never have to come back, and I never have to see
Because
these
he's a
people again.
senior, he doesn't have to deal with the people that
Never
bullied him.
again. Never again.
Like why would you do like trying to ruin your whole life over
Yeah. Yeah. That's what
bullying?
that's what baffles me.
Or he was bullied, or he just endured it, or was subjected to it for years. But he seemed like a tall, lanky kid. He doesn't really necessarily look like the type that would be bullied. In a sense, he had a lot of friends around him.
He had
If
a
he
lot
was
of
bullied,
friends.
his
Yeah.
friends would protect him. His friends would kind of defend him. Like he didn't seem like he was kind of like recluse, or an introvert. He seemed like he was actually like hanging out with friends. You seen pictures with him, hanging out with buddies and everything like that. His buddies looked like
Yeah,
they
it's
were
not like he was a loner.
Nah, he didn't look like a nerd or any, that kind of look. He didn't look like a bookworm. He just kind of looked like a grunge type
He
surfer dude.
reminded me of my son. Honestly, my middle son is like that. He's always been, he's musically inclined. He likes video games. He never played sports. He wasn't the sport type of kid. And when I saw him and he's skinny like that, and when I saw him, he just reminded me a lot of my son. And I think that's why I was like, oh my God. It just kind
Well,
of,
yeah, I bet you a lot of families out there can probably saying the same thing you said. Like he just looks like an average suburban kid.
mm-hmm.
Somebody's son, and it's crazy how people of all demographics can do these type of acts. No matter what household you come from.
Yeah, because when like I saw
Yeah.
when Columbine happened and I saw um Eric Harris and we all heard he was pretty disturbed.
Hmm.
Um when I opened up this kid's social media, I totally was like expecting an Eric Harris. Like this kid's just gonna look like he's not right. And when I opened it and I saw this like little innocent, he looks, he still has a baby face, and I'm just like I was taken back by it. And I think you're right. I think a lot of people are seeing the same thing.
But it goes back to what you said originally about him spray painting the car. If the parents, you would hope that he spray painted the car after the parents, went to work or something. Because if the parents seen that on that kid's car like that, that would be like you're grounded. You give me the keys to your car. Like you're like
Maybe that's why he didn't drive it.
maybe
Who knows? You know?
possibility. Like maybe yeah, maybe like they were kind of like grounding him for what he did or something, and then he kind of rebelled on that.
Yeah, there's
I don't.
so many things.
We'll get more information. We'll talk about it more like as we piece together and get more information. They'll be slowly trickle out more and more and stuff like that because people want answers. People kind of want a timeline, especially people that pay attention to this kind of stuff. You want to know the facts. You want to know
Yeah.
the timeline and why this happened, and if it could have been prevented, or what red flags were there.
We all want to know why. I think that was, the biggest question the night this happened when I was live for 5 hours. We all we want to know why. Why does any crime happen? That's why we all follow true crime,
Exactly.
It's the why.
So, there we go. So he'll go through the process. I don't know if his parents are going to come to court. The juvenile had his mom with him. The juvenile had his mom with him in court next to him.
Wow.
So the mother, he has a mother. The mother was there at court. That's what I've read and heard. Media reports said the mother was there. So the fact that the mother was there during his, juvenile hearing, the mother was not obligated to be there. Mother could have said, "I'm not going. I want nothing to do with him," whatever like that. Shows that his mom cares. I've seen Instagram videos with him and his parents.
Me too.
Both. I've seen them. So he has parents. The transgender.
They're on the boat. I saw one where they're on a boat. They're in Florida on vacation.
So it looks like it's his parents. They look like they're probably in their late 30s, maybe early 40s, maybe.
Yeah.
Don't look so old. They look under 50. So the fact that the mother was with him could support him. But he has a very good chance to get a positive outcome. The victims are not going to like that. They're not going to like that. They're not going to like the fact that, he has a chance of getting out. But the reality is they have to learn, people have to, know the law and everything like that. He can't get a life sentence for what he did, even if he's the one that did the murder. And most states, have the law is like, if you and me went in and robbed the bank and I'm the one that murdered, an employee or whatever like that, the other person would also be charged with murder. When you do a commission of a crime, everybody is culpable. Everybody that's present that does that, with that crime is responsible. So most states have that law. So I'm assuming Colorado would be the same thing. If two adults did any crime together and somebody died in the course of the crime because of what one of the defendants did, the other one is just liable, the same liable as the one. So, the fact that he was there in the school with them makes me believe that they were in it together.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they went their separate ways, unless they went their separate ways, and I still want to get out information of why they went in the school. What was their intent that day? Like, what was their actual intent? To kill? To scare people? To go after, like some of your callers, listeners already set out to get revenge on a couple people, eke out of certain individuals? What was their intent?
Yeah, and what time did they go in? It was like right around 2:00.
Yes. I think it was like after lunch or something. A little bit after lunch. Now, I'm wondering, the people that got shot, or any of them, was that the individuals they were targeting? Or did the people they were targeting get away or not get shot?
Right. Was there any rhyme or reason to their timing? What time did school get out?
I would assume that school. Well, it depends on what levels of what grades, but I'm assuming high school's 3:00, 2:30, 3:00, 3:15, something in that range. I don't know. I live by a high school, and all I know is about 3:00 to 4:00. Behind my home, I just hear a bunch of noise. Like a bunch of kids yelling and screaming.
School buses and all that.
Yeah,
I just
hear
am
it all.
curious if their timing was like specific too. I have so many questions, but
Well, you've had people like, wasn't the one down there, the shooter down there in Parkland, Nicholas Cruz, didn't he pull the fire alarm and try to draw people out and then them and stuff like that? He was a little bit on that time, like pull a fire alarm, and so he knows when people are going to come out to try to get as many casualties as possible.
Yeah, in Columbine, I think they had their timing.
Set off some bombs or something in different areas, or try to improvise bombs and got them while they were all in the cafeteria eating.
Yeah, they knew the masses were going to be in certain areas, so.
Does your any your listeners have any questions?
You got any question, you guys?
Anything, any insight, anything that anybody can add? But it's going to be a big case in Douglas County. But again, it's the prosecutor's second high-profile case because the same prosecutor tried the James Holmes case, so he has experience. He probably looks like a bulldog. He looks like nobody to play with, as far as his prosecution.
If you guys have any questions, put them in chat. Anonymous Cooter.
Anonymous Cooter. Interesting.
We have a group of cooters on YouTube that troll different lives, but they're pretty nice.
So I'm go around Tumblr and go around the different Facebook groups. I'm sure there's going to be like fan pages of these two killers, and people are gonna start idolizing them. I'm telling you, you're going to see it. You're going to see a bunch of disturbed individuals that start idolizing these two people and start writing to them, because hopefully they'll do the same thing with the James Holmes or with the Chris Watts case, and the prosecutor releases all these mail that remember all the fan mail that Watts was getting.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure, and I can almost guarantee that the Devin Erickson, the 18-year-old, he's already gotten letters sent to him already.
I'm sure.
That think he's innocent, girls that think he got
little teenage girls who don't fit in and feel like these guys like kind of stuck up for that type of person that doesn't fit in or gets bullied or whatnot.
Well, they might try to like the LGBT community might try to turn it into something like they were being picked on, something they were standing up for the LGBT community. Could use it that they could try to use that rallying call.
Oh, my son's in chat. Say hi to my son, JLR. His name's Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
He says a bunch of the killer's friends are in denial.
Yeah, well, I've seen a bunch. I was cross-referencing. I took his friends list and I got a copy of his friends list before his Facebook went down and stuff like that. And I seen 3 of them give interviews on the news, and they all admitted that they seen changes in Devin in the last couple years, like little bizarre behaviors that they weren't like on board with, and they were friends. They were all friends on Facebook. So maybe he was maybe he was suddenly changing where, the way he was, the way he grew up with his friends, he kind of had, forming his own identity that was kind of like disturbing. I don't know.
But then I've seen other people say that he had, issues for a while. So it's all conflicting. I do have a couple questions for you. So yeah. Cheryl T, do you think that because these shootings are becoming more common that we will see less and less prison time?
For the people that get caught, that's interesting because, there's a case out of California I just seen today. A woman tried to flush her newborn baby down the toilet in a McDonald's bathroom. She got sentenced to probation for it.
Are you kidding me?
Charged with attempted murder. She actually gave birth and then went into the McDonald's bathroom and started stuffing her child down the toilet. And then workers intervened and found the child, half dead. But the child lived, but she was charged with attempted murder. But she just got sentenced to like 4 years probation for pleading no contest to child endangerment.
Where was this at?
This was in Redland, California, a community somewhere, Redland Oaks or something, California. And then you had another Bucks County, Pennsylvania girl that just got sentenced to probation 2 days ago because she her child, her 10-week-old child died because she drank her breast milk, and her breast milk inside her system had methadone and different, legal drugs, and the baby died. And she got sentenced to probation too, like 5 years probation.
Wow.
So it's criminal justice reform also lately seems like you got to do something really crazy to get crazy time. It seems like people are starting to get, maybe because the jails are full, I don't know. But when you come with these type of cases, with mass casualties and stuff like that, ultimately, people are going to get life sentences. I don't see anybody getting off. That would be like, a prosecutor's, a a political nightmare for a prosecutor to just give somebody a life sentence for doing such a crazy act. I mean, this act here, even though there's only one death, it affects the whole community. The whole community here in Douglas County will be affected by this forever because they'll be scarred. People have nightmares about it. People just will talk about it. Other schools have to take precautions and preparations, and other kids are kind of worried about it. They're going to go to school and feel like they're going to get shot. It has a domino effect. It affects the whole community. So, that's just what it is. That's why I feel like when reality kicks in and people understand that this juvenile here is going to get out one day, it might shock and outrage people, but it's the fact.
All right. We have someone who asked, will they get bail? But I believe they were both denied bail.
No, they won't get bail. No bail.
Let's see. So okay, do they have to allow letters? I believe they do, right, JLR?
Yes, they're allowed. I mean, obviously, the jail has its own requirements and restrictions of what type of mail an individual can get. Some people can't get some mails only, or some prisons only let you, or jails only let you get postcards on postcards. Some will only let you get, letters on letters and no cards, or it just depends on what type of mail you're getting. But if it's just a typical, writing letter, most likely they'll be able to get their letter. And the jail might make copies of it. Because obviously the jails can read the mail. The jails might get copies of it and might even forward the copies to the prosecutor's office. But ultimately, that person, has to get their mail. You can't just withhold the mail. Now they could withhold it for a couple of days, but they'll get their mail.
Any other questions, you guys? They're all talking about freaking pizza, and now I'm getting hungry.
Yes. So this is a case. We'll keep monitoring it and see what's going on and stuff like that. I'm in a Facebook group. There's a Facebook group on this case. It's a pretty good group. It's growing. You're in that group, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. So it's growing. It seems like that's the only one that's actually up right now. I haven't seen any other one. Is there any other?
I haven't either. I think there might be one other one that popped up, but that's it.
So
there is one more question. Do you think they will both plead guilty?
The adult, yes. The adult has no choice. I don't believe the adult will get the death penalty. I see this going to be resolved. It looks like the adult, Devin knows, Erickson, he knows what he did wrong. He's not going to be able to play the crazy role. So he's going to end up pleading guilty. Now the juvenile is going to be very complex, I believe. First it's going to go through the process from the juvenile court to the adult courts. He's going to fight that. She's going to fight that. And then goes from there. What role, and, her being a juvenile and stuff like that. Probably plead guilty, but it's definitely not going to be the sentence that everybody wants.
I'm about to put the link to the group.
I think 20 years. If I could pick an over-under right now, I would leave it at 20 years. I would predict. If I could predict, I would say that the juvenile is going to get 20 years for it. But could get more, but I think 20 years.
Wonder why.
Which is a lot of time still, but 20 years. I mean, that's numbers say 20 years.
So the group, you guys, is called, I can't share the link. It keeps telling me error, but it's called STEM School Shooting Colorado Discussion Group. And you just have to request, what do you call it?
So these groups are good because it's like a depot of information. Anyone has anything, I'm in there, and it's encouraged that anyone that has information about the case or been there or know the people involved to share. Just share the information, and open up a discussion, and people talk, and it's interesting. It provides more insight, especially
definitely
idea about these type of things,
and it's amazing when you have 300-400 people digging stuff up, what will pop up in there.
Yes, everybody has their own techniques and ways to find information, and when a group of individuals, like-minded individuals, put their minds and heads together and try to dig and find this information, you can uncover a lot. You can uncover a lot of information, and then throw it all out there in the groups, and then you can yourself piece it all together and figure it out. and then you come up with the assessment of what you think, what's going on based off, because, some media say one thing and then another will say another. So it becomes conflicting. It gets confusing. And, for a long time, before the juvenile was identified, people were assuming Devin Erickson was the transgender. People were calling him a transgender.
Uh-huh.
Like he was the transgender.
Well, I know that the police said when they initially took them into custody that they thought they were both boys until they started talking to Alec. Then they figured out the situation there. So,
but Alec is going to. Alec's going to be. If Alex goes to a female prison, Alec's going to be fine. So I thought Alex was originally a boy transitioning to a girl. So you clarified that. That would make Alex prison less violent.
A lot easier. Yeah.
Fact that if she's born a she, biological, she's going to most likely go to a female prison. She'll be more, safer, I believe, than if she went to a male prison.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was him, I wouldn't want to go with the males. Not in that environment.
No, and both of them, they're skinny.
Yeah, they're just so little and young.
They're going to be. See, the problem with those situations is prison system, especially when they put young people in, and young people that don't do horrendous crimes, young people that just do stupid mistakes, vandalism or stuff like that, and go to jail for the first time, and then be surrounded by hardened criminals that been through the system. It corrupts them. It's crazy, and then that usually forms a cycle when these younger kids get out of jail and then repeat the process, and then become part of the system. And then, they start getting tattoos all over themselves and try to have that jailhouse mentality, and then their lives are ruined.
Crazy stuff.
Well,
are you going to come back on with me then when we get more info? And
yeah, I'll definitely come back on. I'm following other cases. I don't know if your listeners follow the Mya Robertson case.
We have. Yeah, I've done a few lives about that actually.
So that's kind of like at a stalemate now, but, trying to see what happens with that case. I'm curious to know if they're ever going to find her or hold the people, accountable, that's responsible for, her, being missing. I kind of find it odd that they didn't charge anybody.
It is crazy. And, they just dug in the babysitter's backyard. I'm sure you saw that. And found nothing. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just had a telephone call to put it on mute.
Who calls when you're live? Come on.
I just put my call on mute. But yeah.
Someone's blowing up his phone, you guys.
Yeah, my phone's blown up. So I'm surprised that nobody was actually charged yet. Because this case solved, but at the same time, it's very hard, and people know this in law. It's very hard to prosecute somebody if you don't have a body.
Yeah, unfortunately, who knows if they'll ever find the little baby.
I don't know if your listeners know, but the babysitter in that particular case, Jeanette Browning, the babysitter that supposedly. Did you know that the babysitter herself, she was charged with some sort of fraud or forgery or something, recently, or whatnot? Did you know that the other two occupants in that house, Barry Browning, the husband, and the son, Andrew Browning, they were both charged. They were both arrested on the 26th of April. The police actually were following them and tailed them and pulled them over, and they charged them and booked them for driving while suspended license and a marijuana charge. Those two were, nobody really talks about it, but those two were charged. Now, why did they get charged? Are the police trying to put pressure on them?
I mean, these people can't be, they're not that bright. I'm not trying to be mean, but they're not that smart. They really shouldn't be that hard to break.
Shouldn't. And I'm surprised like they haven't by now. You would think that one of them or somebody would talk or somebody would say something.
I know. It's insane.
Especially with that kid, Robbie Lyons, the prime suspect. He's only 20 years old. As a seasoned detective, you got the Indianapolis Police Department who are seasoned, law enforcement, could throw him in an interrogation room and scare the wits out of him and or beat a confession out of him.
Mm-hmm.
More, and they haven't, which makes it weird. Like, is he really involved?
So did they actually confirm who Amaya's father is? I know that older man came out of the woodwork the other day, and
that Frederick, or that Ripberger guy, Keith Ripberger.
Yeah, he looks awfully old to be messing around with her, but
he is old. He's 42 years old, and obviously, if he had a child, and he's claiming that Amaya is he's the father. I mean, obviously, he had to have sexual relations with her when she was a juvenile. The numbers just don't, the numbers show that she had to be under the 18 or just barely legal. And gross. He's 40 years old. That's kind of like gross as it is. She's been with 4 different guys. I've counted 4 different that she's been with in the last year and a half. So who is the father? Now,
Maury Povich might know.
Yeah, so that's definitely a Jerry Springer type case. I just feel bad. I just feel bad for the baby. Like the baby.
And that baby was almost just too cute to even be hers.
And it's unfortunate that babies have to be brought into this world with uncaring parents and just reckless parents that just don't care. Because even if Amber Robertson, even if she didn't kill or responsible for Amaya's death, she was a bad mother. I mean, it's real. She was a horrible mother. She doesn't deserve to be a mother.
She doesn't. Was her son taken? I know she has a son.
Yes, I'm reading reports that the son was taken away by Child Protective Services, after, which is a good thing. But it's not a good thing because another child has to be put into
the system,
system and everything like that. And who knows if that child will be.
It's very sad.
All right, so I got to run. So
all right.
I got a visitor.
Hey, thanks nice as usual. You're always, you do your homework before you talk about stuff. I appreciate you coming on.
All right, thank you. Everybody have a good night. It's been wonderful, and talk to you soon.
All right, see you, JLR.
Bye. Take care.
Well, wasn't that informative as usual? Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was a very good live. I always enjoy talking to JLR. He always does his homework, like I said, and he, gets to the bottom of everything before he starts talking about it. God, it's very humid here today. Oh, but Prepper, I was going to get you a shout out, and I forgot. I got sidetracked. So, all right, I'm going to sign off here too. I got stuff to do. It's getting late. It's 11:30. So for everybody who sent me donations during the live, I appreciate that. I don't know if all of you know or not, but YouTube has demonetized my channel. I'm trying to get it back, but as of right now, I don't have it. So, any donations are definitely appreciated to kind of keep this going. So make sure you hit the like button. That's free. And I appreciate you guys. I'll see you probably tomorrow. So take care and have a great Friday. Golfer, I can't wait to see your video. So, subscribe. If you guys want to put links to anybody who has a channel, go ahead and put those up for them. And subscribe and, support one another. We have to band together because YouTube is getting a little cray-cray. So have a great Friday, you guys. Love ya. Bye.